There are a couple of other things that you can add when you're mastering as well. This is your standard setup, gain, EQ, multiband compressor, and adaptive limiter. You can also add an exciter, which can add some presence in the top end, and also a stereo spreader to give you a slightly wider spread too. An exciter you would normally put underneath your linear EQ. So drop this in here, and the exciter is in specialized. Exciter, stereo. So you have two different colors that you can choose from to sort of see which one sounds best. There are some defaults you could look at, for example, adding some sizzle maybe, or some vocal edge. Presets are always good just to have a look through and see what they do. You can just play it and use the next button to see how they all add. Really, in mastering, it's only the high frequencies that you're looking to affect so much, from about 15 to 16,000 kilohertz. And you can use the harmonics to see how much that is that you're affecting it by, and which color you'd prefer to use. A good tip when you're using effects is, if there is a fader, just whack it all the way up and listen and see if you can hear what it's doing, because until you know what it's doing, you don't know what you're playing with. So turn it to 0 and just listen. The next thing you can add is a stereo spreader, which would come in just after your multi-band compressor. So that is under Imaging, Stereo Spread. Again, anything you do here wants to be really, really subtle. And you only want to be affecting the high frequencies in your stereo spread on your master track, because if not, it's going to sound a bit bonkers with everything spread out left and right. A trick in your mixing stage on your piano is you can actually if you separate out your melody to your harmony on piano parts, putting a stereo spreader on your harmony can help make the track sound a bit wider as well. So in the presets, there's a light high frequency spread, which is a good place to start with. Again, play the track and play around with what you're looking at. So this is the spread of how much you're actually going to spread. So here it's only spreading between 2,300 and 14,200 hertz. You can pull this down and it'll spread wider. The lower is how much it's spreading the lower frequencies by, and the upper is how much it's spreading the upper frequencies by. And then you can change the order as well, how many times or how often it's spreading left and right. So play the track and listen to what you're doing with this. And that's about it for mastering. The next step is to bounce the track. So we set our locators. Again, looking at shortcuts, choose the track that's the longest, and you can use Command U and it will automatically set those locators. Open your automation and just make sure that that final locator ends where your track actually fades out, and that the one at the beginning starts where your track fades in. You can hold Control, and you can, if it's snapping, you don't want it to snap, you can hold Control to take over. And then just play the beginning to make sure. And the end. The last thing you want is a load of silence at the end of your tracks. One thing I always recommend too is turn off your locators and just right at the very end of the track, play a few seconds. This makes sure that any reverb tails or delays that are running in the background don't appear at the beginning of your bounce. So set your locators again. File, bounce, project or section, or Command B for the shortcut. And then we bounce it. If you're going to be sending this via email, use an MP3, but the quality will be a bit reduced. If you're sending this for use in a film project, or you're sending it to someone who is able to play higher resolution files, you can send it as PCM, either as an AIFF or a WAV. WAV tends to be more compatible with Windows, AIFF more compatible with Mac, but most professional editing software can run both. Always find out from your client how you need it to be sent. The last thing I would want with this, for example, is to send this to the place that me and my wife got married in Poland and then turn up and for them to have no way of playing it. So make sure you know how it's going to be played. I do normally bounce in real time so that I can actually hear to make sure I haven't made any glaring mistakes with a final listen through. You should also make sure you've got normalize turned off, because any normalizing will ruin your master. And once you've bounced, you should also listen through to the track, the actual file, one more time as well to make sure nothing happened in the bounce, there's no glitches or anything. It can be a little tedious, but it's really, really important to do so. Go ahead and click OK, choose where you want to save it and name it. And that's the project finished. So your task now is to go and master your tracks. Once you've done that, make sure you post a link to it in the Q&A, and we'll get some feedback from myself and also the fellow students on the course as well. Thank you.